How negotiating expectations leads to long-term stability. You know, one of the biggest sources of conflict in relationships, whether romantic, professional, or even familial, is unspoken expectations. People don't always realize this, but every time you enter into a relationship, you're bringing with you an entire set of assumptions about how things should work. You have beliefs about what's fair, what's acceptable, and what's expected. And guess what? So does your partner. Now here's where the problem starts. Most people don't explicitly communicate these expectations. They assume their partner just knows what they want. They expect that love or intuition or simple observation should be enough to make everything fall into place. But that's not how reality works. If you don't negotiate expectations up front, you're setting yourself up for disappointment, resentment, and conflict. So today we're going to talk about why negotiating expectations is essential for long-term stability, how failing to do so leads to frustration and breakups, and how you can effectively establish clear, fair, and mutually beneficial agreements that will help your relationship not just survive, but thrive. Let's get into it. The hidden danger of unspoken expectations. All right, let's start with the core issue here. Unspoken expectations are dangerous because they create an invisible contract between two people, one that only exists in the mind of each individual but hasn't been agreed upon by both. Imagine this scenario. You get into a relationship and you believe deep down that your partner should always text you first in the morning. You never actually say this out loud, but you just assume that's how relationships work. And if they don't do it, you feel ignored. Maybe you even start to think they don't care about you. Now, from your partner's perspective, maybe they've always believed that morning time is personal time. They might think, if my partner wants to talk in the morning, they'll text me and I'll reply. So what happens? You get upset, but your partner doesn't know why. They think everything is fine, but meanwhile, you're quietly resenting them for failing to meet a need they didn't even know existed. This is how unspoken expectations ruin relationships. It's not just about texting, it's about housework, finances, intimacy, communication styles, family involvement, and so much more. If you assume that things should work a certain way, but never discuss and negotiate those expectations, you're doomed to disappointment. Why negotiating expectations is necessary for stability. You know, people often say love should be effortless, but that's wrong. A real lasting relationship is a negotiation, one that never truly stops. Stability comes from clarity, and clarity comes from negotiation. Think about it. Every successful business, every functioning government, every well-run organization operates on clear agreements. There are rules, there are roles, and there are negotiated expectations that everyone agrees to. And yet, when it comes to relationships, the most intimate and complicated partnership of all, people think they can just wing it. That's ridiculous. If you don't define the terms of a relationship, you invite chaos. So let's be clear. If you want long-term stability, you and your partner need to regularly discuss, clarify, and renegotiate expectations about time together versus time apart, communication frequency and style, responsibilities and contributions, financial arrangements and emotional support and boundaries, conflict resolution strategies, intimacy and affection needs. When couples take the time to negotiate these things, they eliminate so much unnecessary stress, they prevent resentment from building up, and most importantly, they create a partnership that is intentional and sustainable. The common mistakes people make in negotiating expectations. Now, before we get into how to negotiate expectations effectively, let's talk about the common mistakes people make. Mistake number one, assuming your partner thinks like you do. This is a big one. A lot of people assume that their partner sees the world the same way they do, but the truth is, no two people have identical values, assumptions, or priorities. Your background, your upbringing, your personal experiences, all of these things shape how you see relationships. Your partner has their own experiences that have shaped their views. If you assume they think like you will constantly be frustrated when they don't act how you expect them to. Mistake number two, avoiding difficult conversations. Most people don't like confrontation. They avoid hard conversations because they think, I don't want to ruin the mood, or I'll just wait and see if things get better on their own. They won't. Avoiding difficult conversations only leads to bottled up frustration and eventually explosive arguments. If something is bothering you, it's far better to address it early and directly rather than let it fester. Mistake number 3, trying to win the negotiation. A lot of people approach relationship discussions as if they're debates that need to be won. They argue their point aggressively, try to prove their partner wrong, and push to get their way. That's not negotiation, that's manipulation. And it doesn't create a strong relationship, it creates power struggles. In a healthy negotiation, both partners should feel heard, respected, and valued. The goal isn't to win, the goal is to find an agreement that benefits both people. 4. How to negotiate expectations effectively. So, what's the right way to do it? How do you actually sit down with your partner and establish clear, healthy, and fair expectations that lead to long-term stability? Step 1. Schedule regular check-ins. Healthy couples don't just talk about expectations once, they revisit them regularly. Set a time, maybe once a month, once a quarter, where you and your partner sit down and ask, are our needs being met? Are there any unresolved issues? Do we need to adjust any expectations? Think of it like a relationship tune-up. You wouldn't expect your car to run forever without maintenance, right? Your relationship is no different. Step 2, use I statements, not blame. Instead of saying, you never do this for me, try saying, I feel hurt when this happens. Can we find a solution together? This simple shift reduces defensiveness and makes the conversation productive instead of hostile. Step 3, be willing to compromise. A real negotiation means both people give and take. You might not get everything you want, but if you're both willing to meet halfway, you can build a relationship that's fair and fulfilling. The strength of a relationship isn't determined by how much love you feel. It's determined by how well you navigate expectations. You can avoid so much unnecessary conflict simply by sitting down with your partner and negotiating what you both need to feel secure, valued, and respected. So don't wait until problems arise. Start the conversation now.